Yannick, who was 20 years old, one day showed up at his former girlfriend's house who had always cared about him. A few days later, the boy secretly went and hid in Madame's bathroom. When she saw him, she ended up joining him shortly after. They had known each other for quite some time. Giselle was a social worker who helped people dealing with heartbreak. She was a 52-year-old woman living separately from her husband because he had an affair with another woman. That betrayal had deeply broken her heart. Later, we see Yannick having fun at a shopping mall. There, he spotted Giselle quietly shopping, but within minutes, a security guard caught Yannick stealing. Once again, Giselle stepped in and paid for the items. Outside, she tried to explain to him that he was ruining his life by going down this path. In response, Yannick handed her a box of sweets as a gesture of thanks. During this moment, Giselle noticed marks on his hands. As he was leaving, Giselle accidentally dropped her purse. When she bent down to pick it up, Yannick's gaze lingered on her body. Giselle didn't like that at all. It made her angry, as if it confirmed her belief that some people never change. The scene then shifts. She returned home and found out that her husband had died. The next day, Giselle went to his house where his funeral was taking place. Her son, daughter, and sister were there supporting her. At the funeral, one of her husband's friends stepped forward and spoke highly of him, praising his qualities. But those words meant nothing to Giselle. She felt empty inside. As she was leaving, Yannick was waiting outside. He returned the purse she had forgotten. Seeing him, Giselle became furious, assuming he had taken it on purpose just to meet her again. But the next moment, she broke down and hugged Yannick. Her pain wasn't about her husband's death. It was about the betrayal, the realization that he had loved someone else and only used her. Yannick trying to comfort her broken state. Crying, Giselle opened up about everything while they sat in the car, sharing their pain. Yannick reassured her that he was there for her and that she didn't need to worry. Then he kissed her, and surprisingly, Giselle didn't resist. It felt comforting. But the next moment, she stepped out of the car, aware that her daughter or sister could arrive at any time. Just then, her sister showed up. Giselle got nervous, thinking she might have seen them together. She glanced at the car and felt relieved when she realized nothing was visible from outside. She smiled and went back inside with her sister. Sometime later, Giselle received a letter her husband had written, given to her by his friend. In it, her husband apologized and claimed he truly loved her. But the gap between his words and actions continued to hurt her deeply. Meanwhile, that same friend started trying to get close to Giselle. He invited her to go fishing, and after some hesitation, she agreed. But once they got there, his intentions became clear as he tried to get too close. Giselle immediately stopped him and distanced herself. The next morning, Yannick was standing outside her house, trying to call her out. He called her, but she didn't respond. She stood silently behind the door, not opening it. After a while, her sister came inside with breakfast and called out to her, but Giselle didn't react. Suddenly, she appeared in front of her sister, holding a gun. Her sister was terrified. Giselle's suppressed anger finally exploded. She said her husband had betrayed her, and if she ever found the woman he was involved with, she wouldn't spare her. Hearing this, her sister was shocked and quietly walked away. Later, Giselle went to a beauty parlor. She knew Yannick would show up there since she hadn't answered his calls earlier. After some time, Yannick arrived and tried to impress her. He signaled to her, and Giselle smiled. Eventually, they decided to meet each other again in the evening. That same evening, both of them started getting ready in their own ways. But Giselle couldn't decide what to wear or how she should present herself when meeting Yannick. Meanwhile, Yannick was also stressed about his outfit. He quickly went to a clothing store to pick something for himself. While he was there, a couple of his friends showed up and started making fun of him. The truth was, they had never seen Yannick like this before, calm and serious. It was clear that he was beginning to change, and his friends found it strange. Still, they all came together and helped him choose an outfit. On the other side, Giselle got ready and left her house. Yannick, dressed up as well, set off on his bicycle to meet her. He looked excited and full of anticipation. Before meeting Yannick, Giselle stopped to see her brother-in-law George. George complimented her, but there was something oddly quiet and unsettling in his eyes. Giselle smiled faintly, but didn't respond much. She got caught up in the conversation and lost track of time, forgetting that she was supposed to meet Yannick. Meanwhile, Yannick had already reached the meeting spot early. He sat by the roadside waiting for her. Unbeknownst to him, his friends had secretly followed him and were watching from a distance. A few hours later, Giselle finally arrived. When she saw Yannick, she smiled. Taking advantage of the moment, Yannick confessed his feelings and expressed his love. But Giselle didn't take him seriously. Yannick wanted to be with her to take care of her, but she found it strange, almost as if he had gone crazy. She even made fun of his clothes, and instantly, the smile faded from Yannick's face. In anger, he took off the outfit he had just bought and threw it onto the street. Giselle kept laughing, but Yannick grew even more upset. When she failed to understand his love, Yannick stormed off and went straight to his girlfriend's house. His heart was completely broken. Love had become everything to him, but that same love began pushing him toward destruction. Slowly, he abandoned his responsibilities when his girlfriend tried to stop stop him, he pushed her out of the house. Meanwhile, Giselle spent the entire night thinking about Yannick. The next morning, she went out looking for him, but he didn't show up at work that day. She tried to get his address, but no one could provide it. Disappointed, she had no choice but to return home. Later, she met her husband's friend again because she still hadn't received the money owed to her. The man once again started joking around inappropriately, but Giselle quickly left. The next day, she was watering the plants at her house when suddenly she felt like someone was inside. A sense of unease crept over her. Slowly and cautiously, she stepped into the house. Then she heard the sound of water running from the bathroom. Her breathing quickened. Her heart started pounding. When she opened the door, Yannick was standing there, soaked in water. His eyes were fixed directly on Giselle. It was an unexpected moment, unplanned, and yet there was an invisible pull between them, drawing them closer. She couldn't stop herself, and the intensity of that moment echoed beyond the walls around them. At that very moment, her son and daughter arrived outside the door. They had come to surprise their mother, unaware of what was happening inside. They wanted to talk to her about something important, but after hearing strange sounds, they rushed in and started looking for her. Just then, Giselle quickly stepped out, trying to compose herself. Standing in the living room, she pretended everything was normal. While inside, Yannick slipped away without looking back. Meanwhile, at Giselle's house, her daughter found a piece of Yannick's clothing. When her son tried to talk to her, Giselle seemed distracted, lost in thoughts of Yannick. Unable to hold back, she called him and asked him to meet her. But soon after, she found Yannick asleep outside her house. The moment she saw him, she lashed out in anger, telling him they couldn't be seen together like this. She was afraid her children might find out about them. Still, she couldn't leave him outside, so she brought him in. Inside, they spent a long time together, lost in each other. But this time, Giselle tried to control herself and set a condition. They would meet no more than once a week. However, things had already changed. This was no longer a simple relationship. Slowly, they began crossing boundaries, meeting by the lakeside at coffee shops. Giselle seemed happier than ever, as if she had forgotten her past. Gradually, their meetings became more frequent, and their behavior started drawing attention. One day, after meeting at a coffee shop, Giselle realized she had gone down the wrong path. Yet, there was still a strange happiness on her face. They spent hours together. Giselle tried to explain that they were crossing limits, but Yannick assured her that he wouldn't let anything happen to her. That same night, George showed up at her house with an excuse. Startled, Giselle hid Yannick inside. George came close and asked how she was doing. The truth was, George had feelings for Giselle, but had never confessed them. Seeing his chance, he began talking to her in a romantic way. Giselle stayed quiet, listening. Then George stepped inside the house. Giselle grew anxious, fearing her secret might be exposed, but she couldn't stop him. Taking advantage of the moment, George continued speaking sweetly. Giselle began responding, and slowly, they started getting closer. Suddenly, Yannick appeared in front of them. In that instant, everything changed. Truth reflected in George's eyes. He realized Giselle was involved with her own client. His heart broke, and without saying a word, he walked away. Now Giselle's anger turned toward Yannick because he hadn't listened to her. Yannick, too, became angry. He felt betrayed, seeing her behave romantically with George. That night, it began to rain. Heartbroken, Yannick walked out and headed home. Meanwhile, Giselle realized her mistake and went to apologize to George. But he had no words left. He chose to end things, as he could no longer trust her. Seeing his anger, Giselle ran away. The next morning, Yannick woke up on the roadside with his friends. They teased him, asking about his girlfriend. He told them he had broken up with her and didn't want to talk about it. His friends grew concerned and promised to support him. Meanwhile, Giselle met George again early in the morning. He warned her that Yannick was using her and would leave her alone one day. Now Giselle was confused, torn between George and Yannick. On the other hand, Yannick returned to the same store. He tried to walk out with items without paying, but this time he was caught again. There was no forgiveness this time. He was sent straight to jail. A few hours later, Giselle found out and rushed to get him released. Angry, she scolded him, telling him to leave this life behind. Yet once again, she managed to free him. Still, Yannick was upset with Giselle, suspecting she was involved with George. But he also felt guilty. Sitting in the car, he apologized. But Giselle didn't want just an apology. Giselle arrived at a party wearing a red dress. She looked stunning, drawing everyone's attention. But inside, she was still angry. Yannick had invited her, but there she ran into his girlfriend, who knew everything about them. The girlfriend mocked her age, her profession, everything. Humiliated, Giselle quietly got up to leave. Yannick tried to stop, but she felt hurt and walked away. She pulled away, got into her car, and drove off. Yannick followed her on his bicycle, but Giselle ignored him. As soon as she reached home, her daughter was standing there, holding a piece of an unfamiliar boy's clothing in her hand. There were questions in her eyes and pain in her voice. "We were all waiting for you to scatter Dad's ashes. Where were you?" You can tell me what's going on with you. Giselle stayed silent. The clothing belonged to Yannick. It was the same piece he had left behind in the bathroom that day. Disturbed, Giselle went the next day to meet her sister. The pain she had been holding inside slowly began to spill out. She said, "In love, betrayal often comes from your own people." Her sister stayed quiet. Then Giselle openly spoke about George. Hearing this, something shifted inside her sister. She understood there had been more in Giselle's heart than she had realized. Just then, Giselle's children walked in. Her sister quickly changed her expression and pretended everything was fine. But Giselle's daughter looked straight into her aunt's eyes and asked, "Are you hiding something? Can you tell us the truth?" Silence filled the room. Her sister lied, saying, "Your mother is just upset because of your father." But the daughter understood her aunt was lying too. Suddenly, a sound came from the bathroom, and the next moment, Yannick stepped out. Shock froze on everyone's faces. Giselle immediately tried to cover it up. "He's my client," she said quickly. "He's mentally unstable. I have to keep an eye on him, or he might lose control." But her daughter already understood the truth. Yannick, on the other hand, wanted to reveal everything. Giselle's son demanded to know who he was and why he was there. And then Yannick said it. He called Giselle his girlfriend. Hearing this, Giselle exploded in anger. She stormed outside, and Yannick followed her. Inside the house, everyone was left in shock, realizing Giselle was having an affair. Outside, Giselle shouted, "Who told you to come here? You're ruining my reputation in front of my family. Stay away from my life." Standing nearby, George watched everything unfold, a strange satisfaction appearing on his face. Giselle then asked Yannick to leave, promising they would meet later. After that, she went back to her sister. A little while later, the two sisters went together to the lake to scatter her husband's ashes. Suddenly, her sister broke down. Crying, she said, "Forgive me. I had a relationship with your husband. When you were at work, I used to come to your house, and it kept going on." The ground seemed to slip beneath Giselle's feet. Her voice trembled. "You were my own sister. How could you do this?" The truth was even worse. It had started right after her marriage. As they argued, Yannick was out searching for Giselle. Nearby, George stood watching the two sisters fight. Giselle's children, confused, couldn't understand what was happening between their mother and their aunt. The argument escalated, and during the chaos, the ashes were blown into the air and fell directly onto her sister. The situation became so intense that her sister had to step into the lake. Leaving her behind, Giselle took a boat and reached the shore. There, she spotted Yannick near her car. Meanwhile, her sister slowly swam back toward the shore. Giselle's anger had now reached its peak. She walked toward George's car. Yannick was standing nearby, determined to stay by her side. Suddenly, a fight broke out between George and Yannick. After that, Giselle and Yannick held on to each other without thinking. Their love was no longer hidden from anyone. From a distance, Giselle's children watched everything, and for the first time, a sense of calm appeared on their faces, because now their mother was finally living life on her own terms. Soon after, the two of them left that place, setting off on a long journey, leaving the past behind and holding on to each other for the future. And in this way, their story slowly came to an end.